I'm Kimilia, and you're watching KiniNews. Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim has reiterated that he will not allow for another round of EPF withdrawals. Anwar also expects the opposition to continue to politicize the issue in their campaign for the state polls. Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim has stood firm on his decision to not allow another round of EPF withdrawal. He said this in his speech at the opening ceremony of the Menara KWSP Kwasa Damansara in Sungai Buloh today. Anwar added that he expects the opposition to continue to politicize the issue in their campaign for the upcoming 6 state elections.
Saya percaya ini akan terus dipermainkan dan menjadikan satu isu politik termasuk dalam pilihan raya negeri 6 negeri yang akan datang. Tapi saya tidak harus membesarkan kita. Dalam keputusan dan kebijaksanaan, kita mesti mengambil keputusan yang benar dan tidak harus diheret untuk mengambil keputusan yang terpaksa hanya untuk memenuhi selera berperkara manusia.
Anwar pointed out that he was one of the most vocal during the pandemic in fighting for the temporary release of EPF funds due to the extraordinary and urgent situation following the spread of COVID-19. He said at that time many were desperate. It was an emergency, but now things have changed as people can work again. He also questioned if a responsible person would allow for the EPF withdrawals. The opposition has been repeatedly urging the government to allow targeted EPF withdrawals for those affected. Opposition leader Hamza Zainuddin argued in Parliament in February that a targeted mechanism would ensure that only those who are truly eligible can withdraw their retirement savings. However, on March 20th, Anwar insisted that the government needs to find another way to ease the burden on the people. The alternative solution has been the EPF Account to Support Facility scheme, which allows struggling contributors to use their locked savings as support to get personal loans of up to 50,000 ringgit with lower interest rates. Speaking of the opposition, a Bersatu leader has responded to Anwar's remarks for them to challenge his numbers in Parliament. According to Razali Idris, talks on numbers are just rumors and gossip that Anwar shouldn't entertain. Bersatu's Information Chief Razali Idris has denied that their MPs are planning on tabling a motion of no confidence against the Prime Minister. According to Berita Harian, he said there had been no discussion on the matter. He said this in response to Anwar daring the opposition yesterday to bring any efforts to prove they have majority support to the upcoming Dewan Rakyat sitting. Razali said the challenge was aimed at Hamza, despite the opposition leader not making any remarks about the Premier's majority. Razali added that it is very difficult for the opposition to overcome the numbers, and unless opposition leader Hamza Zainuddin himself said that they have enough numbers, that is when Anwar should make a challenge. Berita Harian quoted him as saying that the issue of numbers is just coffee shop talk, and those who say it are not leaders, senior party leaders, or party chiefs, just regular people. He also questioned why Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim was even entertaining such gossip about numbers. He said Anwar shouldn't be thinking about what numbers the other side has, because his government is stable enough with 148 seats. Recently, fresh rumors have resurfaced about attempts at a change of administration or prime minister, involving alleged attempts to force by-elections in BN-held seats, with the elected representatives quitting their parties. Most recently, Bersatu Supreme Council leader Muhammad Faiz Naaman tried to cause a stir by claiming they had 126, while declining to clarify what numbers he was talking about. UMNO has denied the speculation that some of its MPs will be vacating their seats to trigger by-elections. Rafizi has dismissed concerns from a PKR MP that the recent OPR hike by Bank Negara would negatively impact the government in the state polls. Pasir Gudang MP Hassan Abdul Karim is wrong in thinking that the recent overnight policy rate hike by Bank Negara would negatively impact the coalition government in the upcoming state elections. This is according to Economy Minister Rafizi Ramli. According to Malay Mail, Rafizi said he had a lengthy discussion with Hassan prior to the latter's public statement on the matter. He said he had met Hassan the night before he made the statement and told him not to follow the opposition's sentiments. Rafizi said he had told Hassan that if he is afraid that the OPR and Employees Provident Fund issues will affect the votes in the upcoming state elections, he is wrong, as there are more factors that will affect the voting. Rafizi also advised Hassan that he could always get in touch with him or even Anwar to ask questions about these and other matters. He said despite not receiving a personal briefing from Bank Negara on its justification for increasing the OPR to 3%, he agreed that the move was required to support the ringgit's value on the foreign exchange market. In addition, he said if they didn't raise it, they might have a problem in attracting and retaining foreign investors into Bursa Malaysia, so the increase is a long-term plan by Bank Negara. Rafizi added that the government was also making efforts to lower inflation, which should lessen pressure on Bank Negara to continue raising the OPR. On May 6, Hassan urged Anwar and Rafizi to explain to the Rakyat the recent increase in Bank Negara's OPR by 25 basis points to 3%. He said this was because he does not want the disgruntled Rakyat to punish the government over the matter in the upcoming elections in 6 states. Hassan expressed concern that the increase would negatively impact middle and low-income earners and potentially harm the government's chances in upcoming state elections. Tajudin Abdul Rahman has appealed to have his suspension from UMNO to be lifted. He said he has no intention of representing any other party other than UMNO and hopes to help them out in the upcoming state elections. Former Pasir Salak MP Tajudin Abdul Rahman has expressed hope that his 6-year suspension from UMNO would be lifted. According to Bernama, Tajudin told reporters this at his Aidilfitri open house in Pasir Salak, Perak, yesterday. He said he has no intention of representing another party in the upcoming 6 state elections. He said if he was no longer suspended by UMNO, of course he would campaign and help work for the party, and if possible, he didn't want to be with other parties. Tajudin added that he hoped that his appeal would be considered by the UMNO MT soon, as he still loves the party and wants to settle the issue amicably. He said he was confident that if it is brought to the Supreme Council, the decision will be positive because he had explained in a letter twice before this and once again last week. According to Tajudin, the only mistake he made was being too vocal on party issues. Yesterday, it was reported that Tajudin submitted an appeal against his 6-year suspension to enable him to be active in the party again. UMNO President Ahmad Zahid Hamidi had said that the appeal would be deliberated by the party's Supreme Council. Meanwhile, several other former UMNO figures, such as Anwar Musa and Noh Omar, have signaled that they will not be appealing. They were expelled from UMNO in December last year and January this year, respectively. Anwar said he will be joining the right party soon, while Noh has pledged allegiance to Perikatan Nasional. Khairi Jamaluddin, who was also expelled in January, has yet to issue signals on his plans. The government has given Linus Malaysia a 6-month extension to fulfill the conditions of its operating license in the country. Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim has confirmed that the government has provided Linus Malaysia with a 6-month extension to meet licensing conditions to operate in the country. Anwar said the main condition is to ensure that Linus's rare earth plant in Pahang is effectively radiation-free. He added that the extension would come with strict conditions and will be strictly observed. Anwar told reporters yesterday that Science, Technology and Innovation Minister Chang Lee Kang will give a detailed explanation soon, but from the government's understanding, the extension is contingent upon conditions strictly observed. In February, the Atomic Energy Licensing Board agreed to renew Linus's operating license effective from March 3rd for a period of 3 years. However, this was subject to strict conditions. One of these conditions was to relocate the cracking and leaching facility at Gebeng, Kuantan, which produces radioactive water leach purification residue, out of Malaysia before July. Linus must also begin the process of developing a permanent disposal facility, submitting a work development plan, and reporting its status, ensuring their cracking and leaching plant outside Malaysia is in operation by July, and maintaining a financial deposit for compliance. Linus had applied to remove the conditions, and an appeal on this was heard on April 28th. Linus claimed that their operations were safe and stressed that the implementation of licensing conditions could result in a loss of jobs in Malaysia. Pakatan Harapan and BN's negotiations over seats in the upcoming state elections will not only look at the results from previous elections. This is according to Zahid, who said the unity government had several formulas that were more suited to the current situation. UMNO President Ahmad Zahid Hamidi said the results from the previous general elections alone cannot be used as a basis for BN and Pakatan Harapan to prioritize seats in Selangor for the upcoming state polls. He said they will take into account seats that BN and Harapan won respectively, however that should not be the only consideration. The Deputy Prime Minister said he was informed that Selangor UMNO Liaison Committee Chairperson Megat Zulkarnain Omardin and Selangor Menteri Besar Amiruddin Syari are discussing the matter and that nothing has been finalized yet. He added that the unity government has several formulas that are more suited to the current situation for the purpose of seat allocations, and the matter will be resolved internally. According to Zahid, the coalitions had held discussions about seat allocations at the state level, and though they are not finalized, he was confident that the composition will follow the suitability of seats won by BN and parties in Pakatan Harapan. He said they had also made a decision that the discussions should be held between BN and Harapan and not by component parties within. Muhyiddin Yasin has applied to transfer the trial of his cases to the High Court in Kuala Lumpur. Muhyiddin Yasin has applied for the trial of his cases involving 4 abuse of power charges and 3 money laundering counts to the High Court in Kuala Lumpur. A member of his legal team confirmed that the application was filed on April 27th. The lawyer, Rosli Dahlan, said the application was filed on the grounds, among others, that the cases involved complex legal issues involving the federal constitution. Therefore, the cases need to be transferred and tried in the High Court, he told reporters after case management today. He added that the matter was set for further case management on May 31st. This is for the prosecution to update the criminal court on whether prosecutors would agree to the transfer or to raise an objection. According to a copy of Muhyiddin's affidavit in support, the Pakoh MP contended that the Sessions Court is not a suitable avenue to preside over cases which involved constitutional issues linked to fundamental rights to life and personal liberty as well as equality before the law. Muhyiddin said it is more appropriate for the proceedings to be heard and tried before a High Court judge who has jurisdiction, extensive experience, and a deep understanding of the law to determine and decide constitutional issues. Meanwhile, in relation to Muhyiddin's application to strike out the 4 abuse of power charges, the High Court in Kuala Lumpur has set June 12 for further case management to set a date to hear the nullification bid. Previously, before the criminal court, the Perikatan National Chairperson claimed trial for 4 abuse of power counts and 3 money laundering charges involving over 232 million ringgit. The criminal case is linked to the Jana Wibawa program. Muhyiddin had claimed that the 4 power abuse charges are defective and bad in law. And that is all from me today. For more stories, you can go to KiniTV.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook for the latest news updates. If you would like to support independent media, do consider subscribing to MalaysiaKini.com. I'm Camelia. Thanks for watching.